Right?
I don't have a single book about climate change.
Or either that or they're all about climate change.
In my books,
Well, no, it can't be, yes.
actually, they're all about climate change.
Oh, exactly.
There's a, yeah.
Remember you gave me that? Copy of that?
That heavily influenced me. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know where it was. Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's nice. It's kind of like staff retreats. We're all like running around, like going to Staples today. I'm like,
All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Good evening. Amy Butler, ladies and gentlemen. My intro won't be that short. I want to say thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. Thanks to our sponsors that make Naturalist Journeys possible, especially our lead sponsors, 802 Coffee and Hunger Mountain Co-op. My name is Sean. I'm with North Branch Nature Center. This has been a really fun Naturalist Journeys season. Every one of our talks this winter is about climate change in one way or another. And everything from soil carbon stored by sheep grazing to how beavers can remediate riparian areas and increase climate resilience, all sorts of ways to think about climate change in new ways or different ways. And tonight is no different. So a couple of quick announcements. First of all, we are doing a fundraiser for our youth birding program. We are sending a bunch of teenagers to Panama in a couple weeks, and we're raising some funds to support that by selling some binoculars and spotting scopes and things like that. So if you're in the market for some new optics, check out the table in the back of the lobby. And then also we are selling a few last copies of the Vermont Almanac, which is an amazing resource that some of our staff have been published in this last edition of it. So check out the Vermont Almanac, also in the back in there. And let's see, last little housekeeping thing is we'll have plenty of time for Q&A and conversation at the end of the program tonight. So hold your questions till the end. We look forward to being in conversation with you after Amy's program. Amy was the director of education here at North Branch for 15 years and founded our ECO, or Educating Children Outdoors program. And that has become just the foundational flagship program here at North Branch Nature Center. And thanks to Amy and Amy's visionary work and Amy's partners, there are tens of thousands of students throughout Vermont that have a deeper connection with the natural world. In that work, Amy has now transitioned to putting those thoughts into a book, and is found on mountaintops and on chairlifts and next to wood stoves and in the woods on skis, trying to figure out how to understand and communicate this idea of being with nature and in connection with nature in really uncertain times, and how to take care of ourselves and each other and our children and our natural world despite all this uncertainty, and not just persisting in that and surviving that, but actually thriving in these conditions through engaging our sense of wonder and curiosity and play and imagination and all of that. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Amy Butler.
I feel like I get to hang out with all my friends tonight, which is absolutely what's happening. And those of you who I don't know, welcome, and thank you for your time, for being here. Sean, could we lower the lights just a little bit? I'm going to show you the same picture, but just without the logos on it, so you can kind of sink in.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll still be able to read. I'm gonna start us off tonight with a reading. It's a journal entry of mine from December 25th of this year. Small chairlift talk is a choice to navigate each time I load to ride up the mountain. Do I say something or nothing on this chair for three? Will they speak first, or should I put the bar down silently? My usual is to ask folks how their day's been and read the response from there. I mean, we're sitting so damn close, suspended, I don't know how high above the ground. It might be a good idea just to chat a little bit, right? The early season snow we had blissed out on had long turned back into water and had effervesced down the mountain. 55 degrees and 3 inches of rain 1 week ago drastically changed the landscape. Imagine all that snow gone. The powdery dream we'd been living vanished just as quickly as it came. I was just looking for a handful of runs on this wet weekday to brush off my stressful morning. Honestly, I wasn't feeling too keen about small talk on the lift. My last run of the morning was with a couple from north of the border. We chatted about the conditions, the tele-skiing in soft snow, and the crowds on Northway. On this rainy December day, it didn't take long to talk about the weather patterns here in the Northeast. From the current circumstances on the mountain to the flooding in the smoke-filled skies of summer. The conversation quickly turned somber, reflecting back the damp and foggy chairlift ride we were sharing. These folks, much like me, seek this mountainous region for recreation and respite. It took a bit more discourse to find the word we wanted to share with one another to explain how we found ourselves on this chairlift in the rain, a word that would help us connect over a changing climate. Adaptation. We adapt and ski in the rain. We adapt and find patches of human-made snow to turn our skis into. We adapt our route thinking about the best ski conditions and look toward the mountain to offer up other wonders and beauty. Even with a small language barrier, it was clear that we are in agreement that our regions and their ecologies form who we are, and who we are in these places we love are shifting, sometimes sliding wildly down a double fall line. Right now, we're holding on, a fixed grip on a twisted cable to what we've known and what has become. Winters are changing, and we are too. After my boots were off, I thought of other words for adaptation and came up with transformation. Even though it's listed as a synonym, transformation feels much different than adapting. Transformation involves deep change that leads to structural reform. There's no going back. Whereas adaptation feels more like we're accommodating what is by only making small changes, not a deep transformation, kind of like our snowpack in Vermont right now. Isn't this what we want to experience when we go to the mountains, to be transformed by deep powdery snow, relieved and made anew? And as we adapt to the snow surfaces and terrain, the climate is actually transforming us, altering what we've known and demanding a complete dissolution. Thinking back on my chairlift conversation, I looked up other words in French for adapt and transform, and I found the common use of métamorphose, to change into a different physical form, especially by supernatural means. We can adapt all we want to the changes ahead, but it's the true act of complete metamorphosis on our part, metamorphose, that will transform our relationships with ourselves, one another, and the places we love. That was this December. So, just some thinking. Some thinking on climate change and the places that we love, the places that we recreate. And before I launch into more storytelling for all of you tonight, I want to acknowledge North Branch Nature Center and all the amazing work that they do here. I spent 15 years watching this organization grow, and I think they've grown at just the right time. And it is so perfectly aligned with what's happening in the world right now, that this community in central Vermont and in the larger part of Vermont and in the Northeast and beyond is mirroring back exactly what is happening at this nature center. There's a reason why this building exists right now. There's a reason why there's a forest preschool. There's a reason why eco has spread into so many schools, and that's because there's a really, really great need for it. So thank you to North Branch. If you're not a member and you haven't done much programming here, I highly encourage you to become friends with Nature Center. And of course, thank you to all of you for coming out, friends and family, for being here tonight. You have given me your time, and so I'm hoping that I can fill your bucket tonight and give you some little nuggets to think about. So thank you for being here. And Indigenous the Latin form indigena, sprung from the land, related to the Greek word indina, in, within, inside. Indigenous means being so completely identified with a place that you reflect its very entrails, its soul. Dolores LaChapelle. Norse branch in the work we do wouldn't be possible without the land, and we are on the land. We are on the unceded land of the Western Abenaki, and they are the original stewards of this land. So I just want to bring them into thinking about all the decisions we make. That's Big April this September. So a little bit more, just a little tiny bit about myself. Sean introduced me as Director of Education here, and as an author of a book that's coming out. I guess what I also want you to know is that I'm the child of Pompey Hollow Road and Limestone Creek. I'm the mother to Aurora and Silas, and I am a steward of Vermont. I'm a deep thinker, a writer, a mountain climber, and a chaser of snow. I'm also moving into the second half of my life. Some midlife emergence is going on. Not a midlife crisis, it's an emergence, much like metamorphose. And in this time in my life, gas emissions must decline by at least 47% by 2013, so we don't cause irreversible damage to our planet. So we all have a job to do. We all have a role. I'm curious, inspired, worried, confident, hopeless, hopeful, confused, and resilient. And currently, my work in the world, my job involves wandering and attending. My path is varied, and it's divergent, and each experience I have kind of shifts my narrative and my story a little bit, much like standing up on the top of Jay Peak in November in 65 degrees. I had way too many clothes on in that picture. I could have been in shorts and a t-shirt. So my process for creating this talk is a little bit like this piece of artwork here, done by Rowan. He's a kindergarten teacher. There's a lot of loose threads. There's a lot of thinking in this talk. And what I'm going to share my thinking, my discoveries with you about how we can build some resiliency and face climate change. My hope is that what will happen tonight is I'm going to weave together something that's really functional and beautiful with really old and ancient ways and infused with some new strategies and science. So I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to show you slides and beautiful pictures. I'm going to ask you to share stories of your own with people next to you. Nostalgia is going to get stirred. Things might feel a little uncomfortable as they do when we talk about climate change. Language is self-expression and communication is a miracle. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into some language that I think we're probably all pretty familiar with, but some language that has to do with our emotions that I'd like to bring back to the surface for us to consider as a way to alleviate some of our worries and our stresses around climate change. What do you guys think of that drawing, huh? So the question here, the prompt here for Rowan was, what do you think you'll see in the forest today? I think there's a lot of emotion in that too. I think he's probably pretty excited. But that's the way my brain felt. I'm trying to tie all these thoughts together. I want to go back to the chairlifts for a second because I think people are like, wait, why are we talking about chairlifts? Why are we talking about being a lift operator? Well, I left my post here as Director of Education 2 years ago, and I really needed a break, and I took up a post as a lift operator at the top of Sterling Peak. And what a great place for a naturalist to be. Like to sit in one place for 9 hours a day, 3 days a week. And these are some of the things I got to see. This inversion, right? So an inversion is when the colder air settles into the mountain valley during a high pressure weather system, and the colder air pushes under the warmer air. So actually when I got on the chairlift in the morning, it was freezing cold down below. And then as I'm coming up the mountain at 7:30 in the morning, it got much, much warmer. I saw so many jaw-dropping things like this on the mountain, kind of like these two here. Lots of weather systems. So sitting at the top of the mountain, I asked myself, like, what do I want to pay attention to? Like, what am I paying attention to up here? Of course, I'm paying attention to the guests getting off of the lift, getting off safely, and making sure there's enough snow on the ramp for them to get off. But my inner narrative in the Top Shack was being created daily based on what was happening around me. So ever-changing weather systems above 3,000 feet, 90 chairlifts rolling by. And what a fantastic opportunity to experience natural history by practicing attentiveness. So halos, that's the light refracting off of the really thin layer of cirrus clouds. You can't quite see it in this photograph, but that halo went up and over, and that's the rising sun in February. And then, of course, our macro sky, which is letting us know that some precipitation is coming in. That was February 13th. And on February 14th, on Valentine's Day, we had 8 inches of fresh snow at the top of the mountain the next day. And I had to work, so I was like, I was a little upset. On the Halo Day, I had one of the mechanics, one of the lift operator mechanics, mountain mechanics, up in the Top Shack with me. And we got to talking about the halo, and he's been working at the mountain for over 30 years, so he's seen a lot more than I have. And I asked him about the ravens, because there's these 4 ravens that spend a lot of time kind of like riding the thermals right above the Top Shack, like right down this line. They would spend so much time cruising, and he had names for all of them, and he was telling me all these stories. So he's like naming places and naming these like winged, beautiful creatures. And he really spoke about them. Like his face softened when he talked about the ravens. It was really beautiful. And this is my favorite one at the Top Shack on my platform on my first day of work. It's like what? Like what? Like I just heard the whole room go like, oh. Those who dwell as scientists and laymen among the beauties and mysteries of the earth are never alone or weary of life. Rachel Carson. So again, refraction of light through ice crystals. What I'd like to share with you is a job like this, outdoors, connected to nature, can seem mundane. If I'm not teaching, if I'm not directing, if I'm not creating programming. But anything can be mundane. Our jobs, our commute to work, like walking to the mailbox, but it really depends on how you live it and your quality of presence within the work that you're doing. And by showing up and being present really every day at the Top Shack, I got to experience some really, really amazing weather patterns, people, and stories that unloaded off the chairlift. So on this day in particular, everybody was getting off the lift and then like standing there and taking photographs and talking and connecting and laughing. And I saw this happen. I mean, I've seen this happen in my work here at the Nature Center, but here I was in a different role. And so really my driving question was like, how do people make meaning out of a shared stimulus? Like they're all seeing this together, but how do they make meaning and share that meaning together? And so in thinking a lot about that, my thoughts were that these 3 words are how people can make meaning out of a shared stimulus. Awe, wonder, and curiosity. These are all emotions. These are all emotions that we have. And in my experience, I've witnessed others receive so many benefits from experiencing these emotions, from young children in forest preschool to adults falling in love with natural history by learning about the world and by watching people ski down a mountain. They're really, really powerful emotions. And by finding awe and wonder in our everyday and by practicing curiosity, I feel like maybe we can transform our way as we move into climate change. We're biologically wired for awe, wonder, and curiosity. and we want to investigate what we don't understand. And when we don't understand what's going on around us, we have uncertainty. I'm going to go back. July 10th, 2023. That's behind Harry's hardware store in Cabot. And this is the next day. So my son and I had gone down behind Harry's hardware. That's my son, Silas. He's having a little awe-wonder moment over that day, really. And we were watching the water. We're watching the water rise. And we're like, oh my gosh, wow, this is so intense. Oh, this is so cool. Like, what do you think is going to happen? And the next day it was like, that car was across the street at the mechanics. So climate change is certain, and the story of how we live with it and through it is happening right now, and hopefully we're taking notes. It's pretty amazing how quickly we can go from awe, wonder, and curiosity to this like kind of feeling of this really immense feeling of uncertainty. And just wondering, how do we not allow hopelessness and despair to take over? If we look at uncertainty, places we go when we feel uncertain, this is from Brene Brown's work, stress, overwhelm, anxiety, worry, avoidance, excitement, dread, fear, and vulnerability. Like, that stresses me out just reading that list. It's like, do I really want to share this slide? But that's what uncertainty is. How many of you have felt those feelings in the last 4 years? In the last 8 years? I'll drop 2016. I've been feeling like that pretty regularly since 2016. Hopefully it won't happen again in 2024. But when we're uncertain in the face of climate change, much of what we're experiencing is unknown. We're uncertain of how to live our lives moving forward. So, here's some more uncertainty and some surprises. On the left, this is a friend's house that's in this room right now. This is 2011. So if you think that flooding hasn't been happening or we haven't been experiencing climate change, I don't know if any of you remember 2011, the flood before Irene. And this other photograph is January 3rd. I'm going to read a little bit about January 3rd. This is at approximately 1,700 feet. January 3rd. I got off work early because of lack of snow. There's no skiing outside of human-made snow right now. I can feel this knot of grief in my chest. It's a thick mix of panic, nostalgic ache, and tears. Skiing's always been my form of movement towards a more peaceful me, a happier and focused me. My favorite childhood memories revolve around deep snow, cold fingers and toes, a wind-burned face at the day's end, and a seasonal community of people who loved winter. Without it, I feel untethered, and I'm trying to find my winter rhythm. I'm aware of generational amnesia, filling in the spaces of our shared stories, or of how snow comes and goes in the Northeast. And I'm really wary of these changed narratives. There's no doubt, and I know that we don't have any doubt, that the emotional and psychological impacts of this crisis that we're in are traumatic. And really what I feel like is we all need a map, and we need to start creating that map together, and that map also needs a language. And so that's why I'm bringing awe and wonder and curiosity, because they seem to be right at hand and ready for us when we're connecting with the natural world. There's meaning making and connection and healing and resiliency to be developed by sharing our stories, and by sharing awe and wonder and curiosity. Actually, this card was on Fiona's desk here at the Nature Center. Hope is a bird with its sleeves rolled up. So we have seen hope in action, because hope's a function of struggle. We don't develop hope easily, and we don't develop hope in comfortable times. Hope comes through adversity and discomfort. And it's kind of amazing what the flooding and even COVID and the smoke-filled skies have done for us when we kind of get together and get to work, and we get fueled to help one another. And we are in awe of the flooding. We are in awe of what's happening to us. And I'm going to talk more about awe and actually what it does for us biologically and psychologically. And what I'd like to do is maybe try to find some hope right now in some of your stories. So the invitation right now is I'm going to share a prompt with you all, and what you can do is think about the prompt for a moment and then turn to someone next to you and share your story based on that prompt. And the prompt is, you'll have a few minutes to do this. What's one of your earliest memories of nature? So just take a moment to think, like, what's your earliest memory of nature? What are your earliest memories? And just turn to someone next to you. You can work in threes. You can share stories that way, or find someone to share with.
We grew up next to Yeah. And but I remember like seeing just like the way it's like the kind of lost in the sun. And I remember like shaking me kind of trail. He doesn't. I talked to him about it. But I'm still like thinking.
Okay.
So let's take out your
So hold on to those stories, and hold on to your partner's stories, because we're going to come back up at some point. Maybe even just hold on to them lightly as we kind of do some more exploring of awe. Awe is an emotion we experience when we encounter vast mysteries we don't understand. Feeling awe can transcend our current understanding of the world. Dacher Keltner. So Dacher Keltner, I'm not sure if folks are familiar with his work, but he did just recently publish a book, Awe, the New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life. He's a professor at UC Berkeley and is also the co-founder of the Greater Good Science Center. I moved so quick to get my camera out of my pocket, Kim. That's my friend Kim in this photograph. The snow was heavy and wet that day, and we were like, ugh. But wow, when that prism came across the trail, you can see how far ahead Kim is from me. I was in complete awe. I was just standing there, like soaking in, how gorgeous that was. So in Dacher Keltner's work, what he did in his research was he looked at 26 different cultures and how they all experience awe. And of course, the 26 cultures all have similarities in how they experience awe. And what he did was he came up with something that he calls the 8 wonders of life. So these are places where we experience awe. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. Moral beauty. People who are courageous and brave. Okay? When we're like in awe of people that are doing great things. Okay? Or things that inspire us. I can't read without I keep trying to take them off. It's not like collective effervescence. This might be my favorite one. Dancing, sports, political rallies, where people come together and form like a group and they do something or they get something done. Maybe kind of like a murmuration. Nature is a place we find awe. Music, of course, is a place where we feel awe. Visual art is a place that we feel awe. When I came in here tonight and I saw these pieces in this room, Carrie Riker and I went over, I was standing over at that piece over there, that felted piece, like so tiny. Do you know, my mouth was literally like, ah, like, I was like, oh, like, that's amazing. So visual art, we experience awe in spirituality. We experience awe in epiphanies, like bright ideas. And we experience awe in mortality, birth, and death. Okay, in our mortality. So, awe. These are some of the benefits of awe. I had to use this picture, Susan, I know. Because I feel like this photograph demonstrates some of the benefits of awe, psychological and physical, that Keltner found in his research. Connects us with others and alleviates loneliness. Awe promotes generosity and pro-social behavior. We are more kind after we experience awe. Awe actually reduces stress, physical distress, and anxiety via the vagus nerve. Awe gives us a sense of meaning and serving a larger purpose. Kind of softens the default mode network in our brains, like not so egocentric, and reduces the inner critic and sense of self. Like, really? This is like, why did it take us so long to know this? This is science. Like, in like understanding what awe does for, and this is a short list in comparison to what Keltner has found. This is a short list. When I look at this list of benefits, I just think about how experiencing awe could really alleviate our uncertainty and help us as we move in and with climate change. So then there's wonder, right? So awe and wonder, we kind of use them interchangeably, but they are very different. So wonder drives our passion for exploration, learning, curiosity, and adventure. It's like wonder is like the next level, right? It's like awe is like, oh my gosh, like my brain is like that emoji. Actually, Keltner helped design all those emojis. Okay, so right now, just in my head, like the brain explosion emoji is like, so that's awe, and then wonder, maybe wonder is like this emoji, like this one, like, what are we gonna do about this? Like now I want to learn, now I want to explore it. In 2014, the origins of aesthetic and spiritual values in children's experience of nature. That was a study that was done by Stephen Keller. He's a professor from Yale University. He found that children who engage in free play outside on a regular basis have a higher appreciation for beauty, balance, symmetry, and color, and more of a sense of wonder, curiosity, and awe, imagination, and creativity. The researchers found that kids who play outside 5 to 10 hours a week, 5 to 10 hours a week, just in 1 week. It's like not even it's only 5 hours, it's not even an hour a day. Those children have felt a strong spiritual connection with the earth. And children who play outside also felt a stronger obligation to protect the environment than those who spent most of their time indoors. That's a 2014 study, right? So time in nature helps with awe and helps with wonder. I love this. And you have to read this exactly the way it's written, because this is exactly how she said it. I've never seen this before. I've never knew it was so beautiful. I didn't know this so much. I think she's a junior in high school, junior or senior in high school. So childhood should be rich with awe. It should be rich with moss, right? And one of the more alarming trends in childhood right now is the loss of opportunities to experience awe and develop curiosity. Keltner also found that being in a state of wonder produces thinking that's more rigorous and energized. And then in further research, found that led to better engagement in school and better engagement in academics when children had a bit of a hard time outside. And this, I think, is fascinating. I've never seen this before, right? So maybe that's awe. I never knew it was so beautiful. I've never knew it was so beautiful. I didn't know this so much. She's moving into curiosity. Just in that one sentence. She went from awe and wonder into curiosity. Kids are so cool. They just are like. So here again are the 8 wonders of life that I spoke about earlier, where we experience awe and wonder. And again, what the invitation right now is for you to, chat with the person next to you about an experience that you've had with awe recently. What's an awe and wonder-filled experience that you've had recently? And feel free to get up and move around too if you want to do a little shuffle or talk to someone different. So share an awe and wonder experience that you've had recently.
That's what happens when you try to be again. Yeah, like talking with pencil. Thanks.
I like this thing. So,
I had to pause. It was like kind of like quiet. Okay, this felt rise, stopping. Pretty good to be all over the place. I just like to sit down for a while. Just super peaceful. Yeah, I felt like
that's my daughter.
And then that's great. Like,
You go. That's really cool.
I guess it was a good transition.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
You know, I think
I'm gonna share an awe moment. Very, because awe and wonder is available to all of us. We don't need to live in this beautiful Green Mountain state. It can happen anywhere and everywhere, just as we see in these 8 wonders of life that Kelton are found in 26 cultures around the world. And this one here, that's an awe walk to the mailbox. I'm going to read this for you all. It's incredible, really. A moment of gratitude and pausing happened right here. It's an altar of morning glories and scarlet runners, flanked by sunflowers. A beautiful, tangled mess. Hovering hummingbirds and bees. As the noonday sun rises higher, the glories fade and fall, all to be renewed overnight under dark, cool skies. And again, the blue and white kaleidoscopes unfurl under a thick, foggy morning, reaching for the sun. Restoration. I pause in my driveway on my way to work, chatting with neighbors. We are oohing and awing together. Effective sharing develops compassion. What supports us to connect across differences? Just some seeds in a patch of soil, that's all. And everyone in my neighborhood would come and stand in my driveway at 6:30 in the morning outside my window. Be like, And I get to meet neighbors I hadn't met before and have conversations with them and learn about their lives.
that's awkward.
It was awkward. And then it was awesome. So I'm curious if your earliest memories with nature included states of awe and wonder. Did your earliest memories that first share, your childhood memories, did they include states of awe and wonder? Maybe even curiosity? And is there a connection between your awe story that you told it as an adult and your earliest childhood memory? Like maybe there's some similarities there. It's just kind of fun stuff to track. So, there's a book coming out that is a collective story amongst many, many teachers here in Central Vermont. Some of them are sitting in this room. And the artist and the illustrator is also sitting in this room, Nick Netto. So Nick helped to illustrate the book that I helped to midwife. I don't like to just call it my book because it's actually not my book. It's everybody's book. There's also a lot of people in this room that contributed to it, including North Branch staff and former North Branch staff and family and friends. It comes out on March 15th, and I'll show you. I'm going to read more. I'm going to read some passages from the book. But this got me when I was like researching wonder and awe. So these were the two choices for the cover of the book. It was either this one of Nick, this is a relative of yours?
Oh, yeah. His name's Owl.
Owl? Okay, that's Owl holding a chickadee. Owl with a chickadee on their hand. And then this other illustration that Nick did, this is an original illustration for the book on a chapter about sit spots and the adoption of a place that students go to and children go to on a regular basis. And so these were the two choices that Cornell gave for the cover. And I took a poll amongst people, amongst teachers, Susan here got to see it, a bunch of other people, and I was like, which one do you like? Right? And it was so fascinating what people said, right? Because some people really liked the child with the chickadee, right? And then other people were like, oh, definitely the child with the tree. And I was like, okay, why? And they said, because it's really powerful. The child with the tree is like really powerful. And other people who like the child with chickadee were like, yeah, the child with the tree is like kind of makes me uncomfortable. It kind of gives me the creeps a little bit, right? And I was like, really? So I think what it is that the child with the tree is an expression of awe. And that's really, really, like, it's such a powerful expression, and it's such, maybe even a little uncertain, because awe can also be based in fear. It can be based in feeling uncomfortable, and can also be based in feeling unsafe. So, the publisher chose that one. And I asked the publisher, because, I don't really have the final choice of the publisher, because they print it and they pay for it and everything. And so, and I asked them why, and they said that's the most powerful image, and that's the one that represents most what's going on in this book. This is a really, really important book for this time. And we want people to feel maybe a little bit of fear. We want people to feel maybe a little bit uncomfortable, and we want them to be in awe of the stories that are in this book. So awe also is the vanishing of self. It dissolves egocentric thinking and increases altruism and pathways to understanding interdependence. And I really think that that's what Nick's illustration is doing. So there's the cover of the book.
Yay!
Nick, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that illustration in the process of it?
I'm done with it.
Okay, good. Okay, well, we're going to talk about another one in a second.
No, I waited on that one as well.
Yeah.
I thought this was like that.
So I think this one is wonder and curiosity, and I think that one's awe. That's my interpretation. That was like my epiphany, my awe epiphany while I was doing this presentation. Okay, so let's go to curiosity. Curiosity is recognizing a gap in our knowledge and becoming emotionally and cognitively invested in closing that gap through exploration and learning. That's from Brene Brown's work, Atlas of the Heart. look at everyone's faces. Now I know they're looking up into the treetops for a bird, but this is not just any bird. This is a bellbird in Costa Rica. And the opportunity to see a bellbird, you hear them, you cannot not hear them. So you're kind of pretty much already captivated by their sound because they are am I correct, they're the loudest bird in the world. I'm looking at the other naturalists. They are the loudest bird in the world, and their breeding ground is based on their call and how far their call goes, and it is deafening. It's deafening. So you're already captivated, and then to be able to see one on our trip. So I helped to co-lead a reforestation trip in Costa Rica this past June, and I get to go back again. Really spiked the curiosity for these students. Right? They're already in awe in the place that they're in. Like the place that they're in is producing awe because they're in a brand new ecosystem up in the rainforest in Monteverde and also in Santa Ana. So those are the cloud forests. And what we also know is what awe, wonder, and curiosity do is also can create systemic transformation and systemic change, right? So by having those three experiences gives these students a lot more purpose around the reforestation efforts, right? Remember back to the benefits, pro-social behavior, decreased sense of self and ego, and the ego, working together to solve problems. We planted, I don't know, maybe 3,000 trees in 2 weeks to reforest these parts of Costa Rica for bellbird habitat. Great. Another illustration, another one of Nick's amazing illustrations in the book. And this time I'm going to read directly from the book for you all. Working with Nick to create these illustrations was a really, really hard, long, and also very inspiring process because most of Nick's illustrations were original. So Nick and I worked together and he read each chapter and each passage that I asked that he would do an illustration for. And this is from Unit 2 on sticks, on stick play. And this narrative is called Build a Shelter, Build a Village. So I'm going to read that to you, and let's see where this image of the monarch comes up. So this narrative I did not write. This is a narrative written by Pam Dowd. She's a kindergarten or first grade teacher at Moortown Elementary. So this lesson is called Build a Shelter, Build a Village. This is all about building with sticks, right? Like what kids do when they're offered time to build with sticks in the forest. So we're going to start in 2011. 2011, our school year started like none other. On August 28th, just 2 days before our first day of school, parts of our village and town were hit by Tropical Storm Irene. The opening of Moortown Elementary School had to be delayed. Children and families spent the first days after the flood wrapping their heads around the magnitude of the disaster that destroyed their homes and towns. Quickly, it became neighbors helping neighbors, strangers helping strangers. Although many material possessions were destroyed by the flooding, our sense of community was just beginning to emerge. Many children's homes were flooded, and their possessions were gone or covered in a thick, gooey muck that was left behind after the waters receded. Moortown Elementary School suffered damage as well, and as the teachers went about helping families clean out their homes, a professional cleaning crew set to work on the school, ripping up the floor, scrubbing, and sanitizing anything. Although crews worked hard for many days, our school building was not safe for students. Many of our children were experiencing the most tragic event of their lives. They saw the sides of the main street piled with debris, residents' belongings, and the guts of their homes, not salvageable due to the wrath of the flood. The children of Moortown needed normalcy. They needed something they knew and loved, which was why the staff knew school must go on. We started school set up in tents on the baseball field. With surprising ease, children and adults adapted to our tent school. Teachers taught, children learned. I think we all grasped at this sense of normalcy, the idea of routine of school. We were together as a class, a school, and a community for a few hours, and for a few hours, we could focus on something other than the flood. When the time came to return to our classrooms, it was a celebration. The kindergartners were excited to start a program that connected students with the forest behind our school. It quickly became apparent that this program was vital to the health and well-being of our children. I watched as children eagerly waited for Wednesday mornings to arrive so they could go into the forest behind our school to explore and build. The timing of the nature immersion experience was perfect. These children were living out the realities of a natural disaster, but were able to escape into the forest for solace each week. This group of 5- and 6-year-olds quickly took to building with loose parts scavenged in the forest. They built with sticks and stones, leaves. They built and built. And they built small mouse houses with sewers, and they dug with sticks. The building continued all fall and winter and into the spring. The sticks and stones and their actions represent much more than exploring in nature. These children had been putting actions behind their emotions. They were mimicking the actions of the adults around them as they were rebuilding Moretown. As these children watched their town slowly being reconstructed, they too rebuilt their sense of normalcy. They rebuilt their sense of safety with rebuilding their homes in the forest. Go forward 10 years. 2021. Now a decade later, we once again took to the forest to heal. COVID had arrived on the heels of cold March winds, like a red-tailed hawk swooping in when least expected. Little did we know that the virus would bring unimaginable changes to our school days and routines. Much like Tropical Storm Irene's devastation, COVID upended life as we knew it. Classrooms stopped being places where children naturally collaborated, as teachers and staff worked to keep children seated at desks and 3 feet apart. Our forest classroom became our escape, our place we could go once again to collaborate and move freely. We were in our second week of focusing on animal adaptations, and the children were ready to head to the forest. We were prepared to head outside to complete our work for the day. Although learning about animal adaptations is good stuff as far as teaching and learning goes, it's what happened next in the forest that I find fascinating and worthwhile to share. We have routines in the forest, and my favorite includes forest choice. And after our main activity is completed for the day, children quickly scamper off to engage in their self-directed activities. I moved through the forest listening and learning from the children. I asked them to tell me what they were doing. They were building an ambulance out of sticks, and they were transporting a patient. The patient had COVID, so they were taking precautions to keep the workers safe. They were processing and recreating their own life in the woods with sticks. COVID was real and scary to them, as it is to the adults, to keeping them safe. And they were choosing to work through their questions, their worries, and their hopes by mimicking the adults around them and by building with sticks. Once again, the forest did not disappoint. The forest opened its loving arms to us, allowing a break from the reality of our new classroom paradigm. Here, teachers and students had plenty of space to roam freely. Instead, we spread out and built stick by stick as we made sense of a global pandemic that consumed us. Children love to build, and building outdoors took on a whole new meaning during these 2 life-changing events. The children had time in the forest to heal, to make sense of their lives. Through their experiences, these children are becoming leaders, eager to assist their friends up a steep hill or share their knowledge of the natural world with others. Our students have been given a gift of the forest for many years. In 2011, it was the flood, and in 2021, the pandemic. Next year, however, it could be a family's divorce, a car accident, or the death of a loved one. I've come to realize that the natural world is a place for healing. Time spent outside is time spent learning about life and a sense of community. Children need this gift of learning in and with nature every school year. They're just building with sticks. So when we got to that narrative, Nick was like, "What do I do? Like, what are we illustrating here? Children building with sticks? Like, are we illustrating building a fort?" And Nick I know I'm putting you on the spot. You want to tell us?
I remember puzzling around it with you, and there's other illustrations in the book that already feel sticks in different ways. The narrative was really powerful, and the idea of transformation and metamorphosis kept coming in, and I wanted to do an illustration of a monarch anyway. So I was like, I think this is where it fits, and you agreed. So we did.
I mean, how resilient is that, right? Like, how vulnerable is that? And again, back to that first passage I read at the beginning about metamorphose, right? Like how the French use that word in place of more readily than adaptation or transformation, right? And here we have an example of that, of complete disillusion, of complete letting go, of complete vulnerability, and of the time to emerge. Like, we're not forcing the stick curriculum on the kids. We're not like, now you will build a fort and you will do it this way. Of course, we standardized everything they did so that we could keep allowance and we could still be supported in getting the kids outside, right? If we force a butterfly to emerge too quickly, the wings are not going to work, right? We're actually doing more damage. And the environment has to be just right. Everything has to be just right. It has to be a healthy environment. There has to be little disruption. There has to be food to eat. So, I think Nick really nailed it with this illustration. not what you would expect. And again, maybe some wonder and curiosity and awe in here around hearing a story like that, right? Like, maybe that's moral beauty. Maybe that story that Pam wrote is moral beauty. Maybe those children are moral beauty. Maybe they're the ones who are most courageous and brave, and then inspire us to do really great things. I'm going to share just some of my thoughts on routines and things that we can practice that can help cultivate awe and wonder and curiosity. And, I think of what is a routine and what is a habit. And again, just another kind of a little bit from the book, Educating Children Outdoors. What is a routine? We all have daily routines at home and in the classroom. Routines a sequence of actions that is regularly followed. Some are mechanical acts done without much thought, and other are duties that we must perform to accomplish tasks. But when I take routines as a teacher and as just a human, into nature, I think of route, or the old French translation of route, which means a road or a passageway or a path. And then when we think about habit is the form, is from the Latin habitare, meaning to live, to stay, or to dwell, to remain. So might it be possible that learning in and with nature and forming new habits of learning in nature will change how we perceive the world around us? To live in constant appreciation of nature, to stay committed to caring for all living things, and to dwell in a strong sense of self, to remain open to wonder and awe. These are new habits that we all need, and just like most habits, they'll be hard to give up. So here's 10. 10 routines to build connection, relationships, and belonging. Awe walks. I like that mailbox, Morning Glory Scarlet Runner photograph. Seeking out awe. Anywhere. Where is it? Seeking out wonder. Adopting nature. Adopting a place that you go to regularly, over and over and over again, to practice phenology, to practice relationship building, to practice seeing what the climate is doing and how it's changing it. Those of us who love winter and love winter recreation, we know what's changing. We see the snowpack diminishing. We see shorter winters. So adopt a place. Engage all your senses. That's attending. To attend means to engage, a form of it is to engage all your senses. Sight, sound, taste, touch. name places, name plants and animals when you're there. Have you ever had the experience where you're like at a party and you kind of meet someone, like you meet a new person and you're like, yeah, oh yeah, and then you forget their name and they come back around in the party, but you kind of like avoid them a little bit because you don't remember their name. Other people do this, right? But you want to talk to them, but if we don't know the name of somebody, we do tend to avoid them a little bit. We kind of like steer away, or maybe you won't engage with them as much if we don't know their name. It's the same with the natural world, with the places that we go to, with the animals and the birds and everything. I'm not saying that you have to become like, a biologist or anything, but you can name things whatever you want to name them. But give them a name. Talk to them.
Amy, can I share something else?
Yeah.
When Aurora was that age, she named something in the woods, and it's one of my best nature memories of Aurora. We were walking in the woods, and she was like, "Look, it's a pope in a jacket." Of course, like what? She's like, "Oh, pope in a jacket." So now whenever I see them, I'm like, "Oh, there's a pope in a jacket."
Yep.
Can I just add that?
Yeah.
When I saw that, and maybe only the name ones, forgetting the names, and also just like letting it just.
Yeah, letting it
because
go.
I go through with
Yeah.
trees and terminal buds.
Yeah.
It's a cerebral thing.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't get down on yourself. But my coworker today asked me. She found these like beautiful branches. She's like, "What are these?" And I'm like, "Opposite, alternate, buds, terminal." And I was like, I was supposed to know because I'm the naturalist.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Tell me where you found them. Aren't they amazing? They're so beautiful. Like, let's check them out." And yeah, we don't. It's okay.
Yeah, but I mean, not that it's over, but just like practice of forgetting.
Yeah, forgetting. Yes, exactly.
Let it
Yeah.
go.
Give yourself some more space. And you can practice forgetting by writing, drawing, or singing. These are like what, we have singers in this room, we have artists in this room, we have writers in this room. We all are all of those things. And those can also really help build connection and relationships. Make space for stories. So tonight I made space for you to tell your stories with one another. Okay? Make space for telling stories and make space for listening to stories. Like really deeply listen. Like listen more than talk right now, which is not what I'm doing, but understand yourself in nature. So I kind of was joking, I asked Sean, I was like, "It's okay if I bring some books that have inspired my thinking," and I laid all these books out, and I was like, wow, not one of these books is about climate change. They're all about how to be a strong human. That's all the books that I brought. They're about who am I right now? Who am I in this place? Who am I in relation to nature? And then sharing that with others, like I'm sharing this with you, right? Sharing your stories. And practicing gratitude and reciprocity. Every day. It's hard right now. It's hard right now what we're going through, and there's so much to be grateful for. And there's so much that we can give back and share with one another. That is my daughter. She turns 25 in a couple months. She got a handful of winter green berries. Oh, maybe I'm too far away. Oh, this side. What am I doing on time? Okay, just a couple more minutes. So when I was spending a lot of time up on the mountain, I was like, why do people love this place so much? Why do people show up there's regular people at the mountain skiing all the time, and there's regular people that go on hikes, and there's things that we do that we love. And why do we love them? And how do we become attached to a place? How do we fall deeply in love with a place? And so I looked up place attachment theory, not attachment theory, but place attachment theory. Like, how do we become connected? Which, of course, has a lot to do with all of these. And you could take all of these and you could throw them into this diagram that I created. So, the place that we're in. What is that place? What is the environment? Is it a forest? Is it being at the ocean? Is it healthy? Is it diverse? Does it feel safe? What's the activity that we're engaging in when we're in that place with other people? Like, what are we doing? Are we staring at our phones? Or are we not naming things in nature and like letting the names go and maybe drawing about them or drawing them or singing about them? Like, what's the activity that we're doing? And then who are the people or the more than humans that we're doing those things with? So I think when we lay those three over, and all of those, in my mind, if we look at them in a nature-based way, can really create something that's restorative and regenerative in that heart in the middle. If we take those 10 routines or habits that we can create, and we do those with others in a safe, green place out in nature, with people that we love and that we care about, we can develop some healthy attachment and feel stronger in the places that we are. I found this Welsh word, because the title of this talk was Coming Back Home, and I have to admit, well, I'll let you read this. So, Hyreth is Welsh, a spiritual longing for a home which may be and never was, nostalgia for ancient places to which we cannot return. It is the echo of our soul's past and our grief for them. It is the wind, the rocks, and the waves. It is nowhere and everywhere. And I have felt a spiritual longing for the way things have been, for the way seasons have been, to the changes that I've seen happen in the 30 years that I've been here in Vermont, my whole life that I've lived in the Northeast. So I'm trying to hold on to that sense of coming back home and developing awe and wonder and curiosity and sharing it with others. This is a big conversation right now. The Worcester Range. So in closing, I'd like to read to you all. To close this, I'd like to read to you the introduction to the book. One of the last parts, the last paragraph in the introduction. Why nature? Why now? In a rapidly changing world, I think a lot lately of what's to come in the next 10 years of educating and raising children. As we continue to show up each and every day for our students, we can try to embrace our time in nature as a way to help reduce stress, alleviate depression and anxiety, and ultimately heal. What I know to be the most important truth in this work is that in nature, there's space for everyone. No matter how you feel or who you are, we're here together. And yet there are places I can be alone with a tree or a boulder. Here I've seen frustration and grief dissolve, the natural world receiving it all and giving back in the form of a babbling brook or a bird song. In the act of reciprocity, I've seen children leave gifts for the forest in the form of ephemeral art and thank you notes written on birch bark. These small offerings between children and nature replicate the very ecological systems in which we are learning every week. This is our human and more than human interconnectedness in action. Going forward, my hope is that the history and expansion of the ECO program in Vermont would be a story for many communities. Nature's our teacher, easing the mind and heart with no spoken directions. I dream that this work is truly reciprocal, with each visit outdoors, with every animal tracked, and with each fire lit. These developing young humans are in cooperation with nature to design a better blueprint for humanity, one that includes resilience, empathy, and the importance of taking care of not only ourselves, but also the places we inhabit and love. Like that place. So there's a party on April 5th. I hope you all will come. We're going to have a book launch party here and an art show. So all of Nick's illustrations for the book will be here in the Maxim room. And you all are invited. And I just want to thank you all for being here tonight and for listening to stories and connecting with one another and letting me try out some new thinking on all of you. I feel really supported by you. You can take out your phones and scan the QR code for 30% off on the book. So this is a way that you can contact me on social media, and then my website where my email is. And I'm not joking. Like the book is available for pre-order now. It'll be out March 15th, but you can scan that and you'll get a discount on the book. It's being published by Cornell University Press. So sweet. Yeah.